So what we were to do is, if we can allow ourselves to look at a metaphor, the metaphor of the pandemic. The pandemic is a wild, big, saber-toothed, ferocious, scary tiger. That tiger has been released upon our lands, and he's running loose on the reservation. He's hungry. He's looking for human beings. He's looking for food. He's looking for nourishment. So what would we normally do as adults who love and care about children and youth if there were tigers on loose on the reserve? We'd keep the kids in house. We'd call the kids in. We would hold them in until somebody caught that tiger and put it in a cage and took it away so we could be safe. But what's going on with the pandemic is, if the pandemic is a tiger, it's not something that we can contain. We can't catch it. We can't put it in a fence or a cage and guard ourselves against it. So what we have to do with that tiger is we have to show our people, children and youth, and they might be the ones teaching the adults in their home, is what do you do to protect yourself against that tiger? What do you do? Do you put on your fast running shoes and hope you can outrun it? Do you try to find some fresh deer meat that your cousins went hunting and brought to your house? And do you feed that tiger something else other than you? What do you do? So the answer to what we would do became the philosophy of our return to school plan. We do not want our children to, for the rest of their lives, feel that they have to be protected from danger. We will do that while they're young and small and don't have all of their faculties fully developed to take care of themselves. But we want to empower our children and youth, the students coming back to our school, to know what to do with that tiger that is on the loose. Because there's no way we can enclose them in a safe bundle, a nice warm blanket, and keep them safe forever. They have to go out of the house, and they're going to encounter that tiger. So to further on with that story, if we were going to see a tiger loose and it was sharp-toothed and hungry, what is a typical human reaction? And I think, when I thought about it, it's fear. It's a fear reaction. So I will make a choice. I will either fight that tiger, I will flee from that tiger, or I will freeze and do nothing. So that fight, flight, and freeze reaction that is common across human beings, that causes adrenaline to flow and we can all of a sudden find speed that we didn't know we had. That's one way to deal with a pandemic. Another way takes me to another story. I was working at home for 131 days and then finally invited back to the reserve late in July. And in my second week back to the reserve, one of our counselors working with people in the nation put together a ceremony down at the lake. Now, Pasqua First Nation is located in Treaty 4 territory in southern Saskatchewan, and part of our reserve borders land in the beautiful Qu'Appelle Valley, and they go down to Pasqua Lake. So we had the ceremony down at the lake, and it happened over 4 days. I was only able to attend on the Sunday. But on the Sunday, I took my offering. I selected the color white for cloth to represent the purity of young people and children. I took my tobacco. I took my paper. And when the opportunity came to go and speak to the elders, there were 5 elders that were gathered there that we could talk to about various things. And I approached one elder and I told him what my role was. And I told him how I was feeling and what I was responsible for, and how heavy it felt to be a person that might be leading people into routines that would protect them from the tiger, or could I possibly be a person that might lead them into an unsafe path. So the 2 bits of advice he gave me, the first one, he acknowledged my womanhood, my femaleness. And he said, when you have that feeling in your stomach, he said, we call that mother's intuition. and male and female all have a new nurturing feeling within them and responsibility. However, for my personal part of the story is I was able to reach that place where I thought, what would I do if these children were my biological children? And so that made whatever we would do so much more meaningful. We cannot take a risk. There is no room for risk. The second thing he told me, I think, was the most important thing that I've heard in the last 170 days. What he said to me is we have choices about regarding COVID-19. We can be afraid of it or we can respect it. And so he described what a fear reaction would be. We would want to fight it, flee from it, or freeze within it. But if we respected the power that COVID-19 had, then we would approach it from a different place. And the whole teaching is to be aware of how we are approaching the challenge that's in front of us. It's in our mindset. Are we going to respect COVID-19 or are we going to fear it? And when I think about all of the detailed elements of our return to school plan, I see that we are shifting. We have a healthy sense of fear, but we are also empowering ourselves by approaching the pandemic with respect. So the tigers on the loose and on the reservation are a challenge for us to figure out how we can stay safe and not just fear them. So that was an important teaching, and I acknowledge Pasqua First Nation elders who managed to share that. If we allow fear to drive our response, that is not a position of strength. We have to have both feet on the ground, fist clenched, best vision, and we have to go. We believe that education is both about academic achievement and life success, and we approach our students, our learners, from a holistic perspective of mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. So coming from a place of respect and coming from a place of strength, our mental development, the parts of our plan, our logic, and cause and effect. Chief Pegan mentioned that on March 17th, he canceled school because of one case. How would it look now with about 1,600 cases to open up the schools? So the cause and effect relationships are part of our mental reasoning. But part of our mental reasoning is creativity as well. We are supplying cloth masks to all of our students upon entry into the school. The cloth masks will be color-coded so we'll know which grade and which cohort group the students belong to. That took a little bit of creativity. So with all the aspects of health and science and logic, those are hard facts, but I hope that we can all remember about the need for creativity. Also in the mental area are the contracts, the employment letters that we're providing for our staff. All of our contracts and employment letters have what we've called pandemic clauses and talk about flexibility in the way teachers will deliver instruction. Land-based learning, online learning, home education, and face-to-face are the options that we have outlined in our contracts that we will support teachers to deliver academic achievement and life success through. In our physical area of our plan, of course, we've talked about physical distancing. Unlike the province, we have the luxury of being able to add 3 new teachers to our staff this year at Pasqua First Nation. They're replacing, one is a replacement for a teacher who left, but the other 2 are part of the team that are going to allow us to have smaller class sizes, smaller cohort groups, and also in support in the physical area. Our chief and council have ordered and the holes are dug to place 4 new portable classrooms by our high school. So our grade 10, 11, and 12s will each be in an individual portable, and so we'll be able to perhaps have them attend daily rather than every other day. Part of our other physical response in our plan deals with physical fitness. So all four parts are important. To be a fully developed human being, we develop mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and we find balance between them. So in addition to reading assessments, Fontes and Pinnell, and numeracy assessments through the basic concepts of math, we are also launching physical fitness assessments to find out where students are at. And we are going to strive for the 60 minutes, the Canadian standard for physical activity, because that's something we've noticed among our children is they're not running and playing and doing as much physical activity. There's a lot of couch potatoes that have found comfortable places on the couches over the summer. And so physical fitness training and then trying to move students and staff up to different levels is part of our plan. In the emotional quadrant of our plan, as people have mentioned about the importance of relationships, I think that that's one of the most important things we're doing. My late dad, Tommy Johns, is a residential school survivor, and although he promoted education, he never stepped inside the school. He would drive his car straight up outside of the principal's office and honk the horn. And when the principal heard the horn honking, he'd know it was the Johns kids, and he'd send us out for our lunch or our lunch money. That parent relationship is so critical, as our parents have not typically or traditionally had involvement in school. What the pandemic is allowing us to do through home study and home education and parent consent for the children to come back into the learning environment is a strengthened relationship with our parents, and we've been able to manage probably about a staff and a half-time staff to focus only on home support. Simple basic things like setting up a study corner with a comfortable chair and a table and a lamp, making a schedule on the fridge for when you'll be online, when you'll be doing physical activity, when you'll be having your meals. And then, as our chief mentioned this morning when he spoke to staff, if you have your grade 8 student come home and wants to know how to divide fractions to prevent him having to scramble and relearn his grade 8 math, he talked about the need for teachers to provide more examples so that our parents and the people that are home helping our children with our blended approach are able to do so successfully. So that new homeschool relationship is a big part of our decolonization and part of reclaiming autonomy for our treaty right to education. And last but not least is our spiritual development and the spiritual aspect of our plan, where we're building on our trust, we're building on nurturing, and we are understanding about the importance of respect over fear and the way we define our spirituality, because like many other places, we have people from a variety of spiritual traditions. There's the Red Road, traditional First Nations, the various churches, or different kinds of beliefs. We define spirituality as when people act on the basis of their core values. Our core values are we love children, we respect their destiny, we care about our role in helping them to reach their destiny. So actually, what the silver lining is of the pandemic is building stronger relationships, having opportunity to rethink the way that we've always done things, and all of the other clever items that we will come up with as we enact upon our plan. So thank you for the time.